So much has happened in America in the past 2 weeks, and the speakers before me have spoken about this, so I'm not going to try to repeat that. Way too much to mention. We've all seen President Donald Trump being shot, falling to the ground, surrounded by Secret Service agents, getting up again with his fist in the air, calling on his followers to fight. And that obviously is also the theme of tonight. And that is what I want to talk to you about. What are we fighting for? It seems that in our day and age, it has become easier to explain what we are fighting against than what we are fighting for. Yet we can never truly understand what we are fighting against if we don't have clarity about what we are fighting for. When someone asks us who we are, it's not sufficient to say that we are not left or that we are not woke. I'm an Afrikaner. I come from a nation that has lived in the southernmost tip of the African continent for almost 400 years. We are Westerners because we sprout from Western civilization with its foundations in Athens, Rome, and Jerusalem. But we are also African in the sense that our culture and identity has become inextricably linked to the African continent. This is evident in the unique culture and language that we have developed, and the fact that we named our language Afrikaans and our nation the Afrikaners after the African continent. The Afrikaners of the 20th century went through considerable effort to build a strong state. That state was not sustainable for a variety of reasons. And when the state fell, it didn't merely collapse. It was taken over, and the institutions that we have built became weapons used against us. The South African government follows a strategy that they call the National Democratic Revolution, which boils down to using democracy to promote socialism, gaining control of the levers of power under the auspice of being Democrats, only to use this to wage an ideological war on targeted communities. Those in power in South Africa are bold enough to describe their own ideology as a blend of race nationalism and socialism, as if that has not been tried. As if that has not been tried. Yet they have successfully convinced much of the world that they only seek peace and prosperity. Either that, or those who support them don't really care about race nationalism and don't really care about state oppression, as long as it is their preferred race that is targeted and it's their state doing the oppression. Faced with more than 140 race laws in South Africa today, and the collapse of every single government function, except tax collection, of course, the Africana people have rediscovered an ancient truth. This is that the only sustainable road to freedom is through well-functioning community institutions, built on a strong sense of communal identity. We have lost this, but our experience has led us to rediscover these things. America, I might say, it seems, has lost much of this as well. While this has been part of the fabric that has led America to the greatness in its past. If there was only one thing that Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton agreed on, it might have been this. It is especially evident in the observations made by Alexis de Tocqueville in Democracy in America. And this is where the Africana Foundation comes in. The Solidarity Movement in South Africa is a network of more than 50 institutions aimed at ensuring a future for the Africana people. This includes Solidarity, AfriForum, the Solidarity Helping Hand, the Federation of Afrikaans Cultural Organizations, Academia, Soltech, Barula Media, the Urania Development Company, and many others. We are very proud to say that everything we have achieved over the last few decades was through our own work and funding from within our own community. For example, we were able to build a technical college worth $11 million and finish it under budget and before the deadline. And to build this college, the single biggest donation that we have received was 50 American cents. How did we do this? We crowdfunded hundreds of thousands of people to donate the equivalent of 50 cents every month for several years. However, due to the accelerated deterioration of South Africa, we have to accelerate our own work. And so the Africana Foundation was founded to increase international cooperation for the Africana people and to enable our friends abroad who are interested to support these initiatives, either through institutional cooperation, donations, or, and this is what I would like to encourage you to do, becoming an international member of the Africana Foundation by making a small monthly contribution. Now, as a result of purchasing power parity, the price of 2 cappuccinos in New York is more or less the equivalent of a high-quality steak meal in South Africa, which is yet another reason why you should visit South Africa. So what you might regard as a small contribution would be accepted by us as a big contribution. And so this brings me to America and to the West. There are many things that we as Afrikaners and our friends in New York have in common. We each man a particular outpost on the civilizational battlefront. As Westerners, we draw our conception of freedom and what it means to be free back to Aristotle, who spoke about the movement from potentiality to actuality. That freedom is not something to be demanded as a right, but to be fulfilled within the context of our communities. To Cicero, who spoke about the reciprocal nature of republicanism, that freedom implies receiving certain things as a result of the sacrifices of our ancestors and sacrificing certain things for the sake of our children. And to St. Paul, who called on us to live in the fruits of the Spirit and not in the fruits of the flesh. That freedom implies living virtuously and courageously in the face of animosity. The primary struggle of our day and age is not merely a clash between different civilizations, but in many ways a clash between those who wish to preserve civilization and those who seek to destroy the very concept of civilization, but Western civilization in particular as a primary target. Thus, if we are not prepared to fight for the preservation of civilization, we have to accept barbarism. As Westerners, we believe in transcendence. We believe that we have been called to fulfill a certain duty at a certain time and in a certain place. There is a reason why Gavin Wax was not born in 1760 and why he wasn't one of the founding fathers. It's because we need him to fulfill a certain duty in this place. One that George Washington wasn't called on. And there's a reason why Jack the Soviet wasn't born in 1930 and why he didn't serve as Secretary of the State during the Cold War. It's because we need him to fulfill a certain responsibility at this time and this place. And the same goes for each and every one of us.